Hello, this is Pilla Rajendra. In our last class of Introduction to the Literature, we discussed so many important things about the introduction of the literature and how what were the essential qualities of literature and how literature should be read and what purpose the literature should be read. And right now we are learning the uh, ingredients of literature. In this one, we are learning about the genres of literature. In genres of literature, we are discussing about the poetry, and according to the Wordsworth, spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings can be expressed in poetry. Emotions recollected in tranquility also. These are the words said by William Wordsworth in his preface to Lyrical Ballads. Then, in the forms of poetry, we are going learning some. We learned about some forms of the poetry. The rhyme. The rhyme makes the poem musical sounding. It is the identity of sounds within a verse line or at the end of the verse lines, or yes, it is in the identity of the sounds within a verse line or at the end of the verse lines, the identity of the sounds within an internal rhyme. So the rhyme is that makes the poem musical sounding. What is rhyme? Rhyme means it makes the musical sounding, and it is the identity of sounds within a verse lines or at the end of the verse lines. The identity of the sounds within an internal rhyme. We'll go through with other ones. The internal rhyme. The rhyme. The rhyme makes the poem musical sounding. It is the identity of sounds within a verse line or at the end of the verse lines. Identify sound within is an internal rhyme. That means at the end of the every poem, we follow some internal lines, and there may be the sound should be remain the same. So musical sounding of the poem for the purpose of we are using it. And internal rhyme is for all a word. I had killed the bird that made the breeze blow, or Riche, said they, the bird slay that made the breeze to blow. So this is what the internal rhyme. Internal rhyme means they made from first to end. First, try to observe the first line and second and third and fourth one. In the first line, we can observe the name bird repeated for the sounds. And for all I had killed the bird that that made the breeze to blow. And the fourth one is also remain the same. That made the breeze blow. Ever wretched said they, the bird to slay. It is a poem from Rhyme of Ancient Manner, written by Samuel Coleridge for the internal rhyme. The rhyme is the identity of the sounds at the end of the lines is called end rhyme. The rhyme of the sounds which may call at the end of the rhyme, they are called end rhyme. And this may be in single masculine end rhyme or double or feminine end rhyme. And this may be, that means the rhyme which the identity of the sounds at the end of the lines, that may be an end rhyme. And this may be single masculine, otherwise end rhyme, or double or feminine end rhyme. The rhyme is a single masculine rhyme. If there is a single masculine rhyme, when the first pronounced syllable on line and the last pronounced syllable of another line are identical, and there is double are masculine rhyme when the last two pronounced syllables of one line and the last two syllables of another line are the same. So try to understand. If there is a single or masculine rhyme, the last line is pronounced with the syllable of one line and the last pronounced syllable of another line are identical. You can try to identify when you read the poem or when you pronounce the poem, you can easily identify what the pronounced syllable are the same or not. They may be identical. They will be identical. And try to understand once again. Single or masculine rhyme when the last pronounced syllable of one line and the last pronounced of another line are identical. And there is double or masculine rhyme when the last two pronounced syllables of one line and the last two syllables of another line are the same. So, how they are? Look at the Louis Datto's The Spouse. She holds no joys behind the day's tomorrow. She finds no words beyond his arm's embrace. She looks upon the farm beyond the furrow. Who is her mind, her emotion, time, and space? So here, try to understand the green lines are feminine and the red lines are masculine. How can it be means? Try to understand, try to read the poem once again. You can easily understand. She holds no joys behind the day's tomorrow. The day's tomorrow from beyond the furrow. Furrow, marrow. And she finds no words beyond his arms embrace. Embrace and here space. She looks upon the farm beyond the furrow. Who is her mind, her motion, time, and space? So this is what the double masculine, double feminine rhyme, and double single masculine rhyme here. And it is alteration. Alteration means for we can say that it is also called as a sprung rhythm. Jim Hopkins is known as a great poet of the 20th century about the alteration and sprung rhythms. This is a rhyme device which makes a poem masculine sounding by the repetition of initial consonantal sounds. This alteration is a rhyme device which makes a poem masculine sounding by the repetition of initial consonantal sounds. Euphony. This is a sound quality of a poem affected by the use of soft, fluid, and pleasing sounds. Epiphony is, this is a sound quality of a poem affected by the use of a soft and fluid and pleasing sounds. Silently shifting and wailing road roof and railings. So try to understand the alteration. Silently shifting and wailing road roof and railing. Having difference making unevenness even into angels and passive, soft driving and sailing. So notice the alteration of the yes, yes and R in the euphonious sound of the underlined phrases. Then kinds of the poetry, you can go through with the number of kinds of poetry. Just now we have observed the speeches of the poetry. Lyric poetry is a simple lyric and they may be called as song, sacred or secular. Sonnet making, you can see the Italian sonnets and the Petrarchan sonnet and English sonnet, what we can say Elizabethan sonnet or Shakespearean sonnet, Spencerian sonnet. These are the kinds of the sonnets. And the fourth one, elegy. And elegy means it's a mourning poem. Lyric poem means a lyric means it's a poem sing by the instrument of lyre, Greek instrument lyre, that is called the song of secular. song, sacred song or secular song, that may be a type of poetry. And sonnet, in sonnet we can see the three kinds of patterns are there: Italian sonnet, Petrarchan sonnet, and English and Elizabethan Shakespearean, then Spenserian sonnet. Elegy and ode. Ode means it's a poem having a great theme and a heroic theme, maybe, that can have a ode. Narrative poetry. For narrative poetry, we can see the ballads. There may be folks and literary ballads, and second one metrical tale, and the metrical romance, and fourth one is epic. Epic is a long narrative poem, and the entire narrative poems are ballads, metrical tales, and metrical romances, and epics. Epic means it's a long narrative poem. It's just like we have seen in English literature, the Paradise Lost, written by, yes, it's a Paradise Lost one, and you can see number of poetries from the Paradise Lost. So this is what epic is. So we see the next one, the characteristics of epic. It is just just I know just now I discussed about the characteristics. What is epic? Epic is a long narrative poem, and try to know about the epic. A board in scope and theme, board in scope and theme. Its subject matter is often a mixture or legend, history, myth, religion, and tradition. The action is grand and in a huge scale. The supernatural elements is highly pronounced. The characters are larger than life, like god, demigods, and high-born mortals. The source of the conflict involves essential elements of passions. The event centers on parodious struggle or efforts to achieve a great purpose or carry out a great task against powerful forces. So, what is epic? Characteristic of epic means broad, broad in a scope, broad in a scope. It means it should be in a broad and a lengthy theme, and its subject matter is often mixtured with legendary, like history, myth, or religion, or tradition. Tradition. The action is grand and in a huge scale. The supernatural elements is highly pronounced. The characters are larger than life. They may be gods, demigods, and high-born mortals. The source and the conflict involves the elemental passions. The events centers on a prodigious struggle or efforts to achieve a great purpose or carry out a great task against the powerful forces. Then the plot consists of the numerous episodes and subplots people by numerous characters, each with his own adventures and story. But all these are held together by a unifying theme. The plot often begins in medias, rests in the middle or near the end of the action, and the story is completed by a series of flashbacks. The plot is recounted in the epic poem is often just a portion of a much longer story which is found in the mythology of the nation. The style is solemn and majestic in keeping with the grandeur of the subject matter. So try to understand once again the plot of consists numerous episodes. There may be like a parallels, we can see the 12 books. And the subplots, people may be numerous characters. There are so many subplots involved in the epic, and there may be numerous characters we can see in the Paradise Lost. Each this has its own adventure and story, and but all these are held together by unifying theme. The plot begins with medias, and rest in the middle or near the end of an action, and the stories completed by a series of flashbacks. Flashbacks. The plot is decounted in the epic poem is often just a portion of much longer story, which is found in the mythology of the nation. And the style of solemn majestic in keeping with the grandeur of the subject matter. So dramatic poetry. Look at the dramatic poetry. In dramatic poetry, we can see the forms of poetry like dramatic monologue, soliloquy, character sketches. Soliloquy, dramatic poetry, and character sketches. Prose. Prose is a discourse which uses the sentences, usually forming paragraphs, to express ideas, feelings, and actions. In the subject matter, prose is generally concentrates on the familiar and the ordinary. Prose is mainly concerned with the ordinary, but it may deals with the subjects such as heroism, beauty, love, and nobility of the spirit, which usually find the most eloquent expressions in poetry. Prose means prose is a discourse which uses the sentences, usually forming paragraphs, to express the ideas, feelings, and actions in subject matter. Purpose prose generally concentrate on the familiar and ordinary. Prose is mainly concerned with ordinary, but it may deal with the subjects such as heroism, beauty, love, and the nobility of the spirit, which usually finds the most eloquent expressions in the poetry. Distinction between the prose and poetry. Poetry expresses the strong emotions or lofty thoughts in a compressed manner and intends to utterance. And prose is concentrated with the presentation of an idea, concepts, or point of view in a more ordinary and leisurely manner. Its main purpose is to provide pleasure and delight. Its purpose is to furnish information, instruction, or enlightenment. It appeals to the emotion, poetry appeals to the emotion and imagination, and prose appeals to the intellect. So try to understand the difference between the prose and poetry. Poetry expresses the strong emotions or lofty thoughts in a compressed, intense utterance. Prose is concentrated with the presentation of an idea, concept, or point of view in a more ordinary and leisurely manner. Poetry is the main purpose to provide the pleasure and delight. Prose is the purpose of the prose is to furnish the information and instruction or enlightenment. And poetry appeals to the emotions and imagination, and prose appeals to the intellectual. So elements of the fiction. Fiction means it's a novel. Fiction means there are number of different genres of novel. But for what are the elements for the fiction? What are the elements we can see in the novel? Plot, setting, characterization, style, point of view. So we will see some elements. Five, six, five elements are there in the elements of the fiction: plot, setting, characterization, style, point of view. And the divisions of the prose, they may be novel based on the classification, like the novel's vision of life, whether it may be romantic fiction or realistic fiction or naturalistic fiction. So from the divisions of the prose, we can see the novels based on the classification. The novel's vision, novelist's vision of the life may be romantic fiction, A. Romantic fiction, B. Realistic fiction, C. Naturalistic fiction. Then the writer's choice of the material, they may be they may be take their own choice of the material, like a historical novel, psychological novel, and a sociological novel. And structure of the novel is panorama, panoramic panoramic novel or dramatic novel. And the point of view is internal. The narrator is himself in a protagonist are the most important character. The narrator is himself the protagonist or the most important character in the novel. That is what about the point of view. And the story is told by a minor characters who is supposed to be present at the time of the important incidents. The narrator, the story is told by a minor character who is supposed to present at the time of important incidences in the story. Composite point of view, the reader is given a comprehensive view of the different aspects as the action and the different angles from which the plot develops. So, what is the composite point of view? The reader is given a comprehensive view of the different aspects of an action and different angles from the which the pointer the plot has to be developed. And external point of view is also called the external point of view is also called the omniscient point of view. Omniscient point of view. And go through with other genres of the literature about short story. It is an artistic form of prose fiction which is centered on a single main incident and is intended to produce a single dominant impressions. They may be economy and compression or emphasis of the characterizes the short story. So short story is an artistic form of prose fiction which is centered on a single main incident and is intended to produce a single dominant impressions. Economy, compositions and elements and emphasizes the characterizes the short story. And go through with the non-fictions, they may be essays. From the essays, we can see the formal essays and informal essays. For the formal essays, again, informal essays, they are maybe written in the oration, like biography, autobiography, like memoirs, letters, and epistles, diaries, and journals. And drama, we can see the drama is a serious as a tragedy, and in the tragedy we can see serious drama or tragic comedy or melodrama or the comedy, you can see the farce. So the styles of drama, that may be the realistic or illusionistic or the representational style, the non-realistic or non-illusionistic or presentational style. In the styles of drama, we can see the realistic or illusionistic drama representational styles, and a non-realistic and non-illusionistic or presentational style. From this, I would like to end my session, and thank you for